welcome to this edition of Trader Talk TV. It's a virtual Trader Talk TV because obviously we can't be in the office. Thank you, COVID. Thank you for ruining the last 2 years of our lives. But I think the mood will be uplifted. Dix, well, Johann from Nano Interactive. Johann, how are you doing today?
I'm doing totally fine, actually. The weather's gotten better in Munich as well. I hear that you're sitting in Tenerife, and I'm actually quite envious of you. But yeah, it's getting better here.
Not for long. Not for long. I'm flying very soon back to England to get a vaccination, hopefully. And okay, let's talk about the Consumer Intent Score, the CIS. It sounds like a cop show, but it's not actually. Or not CSI. Maybe it's CSI. Let's show us. Can you show us visually what that looks like and what it is? I'm curious to know.
So maybe first to really understand why we are taking. I mean, there are two different approaches when you're talking about the death of the third-party cookie. You could either go with identity solutions, and there are a lot of them out there, right? There's
a lot of them, Johann. A lot.
A lot of them. So it's like a little patchwork of things that are going on. And then I kind of thought, okay, so what kind of websites do I usually visit, right? And these are obviously UK examples of kind of German websites I would visit. So it's basically news, it's finance, sports, and those kind of things. But looking at that, the only two websites that actually I log into are Financial Times and the Telegraph. And the other websites don't even know me at all, right? So I'll ask myself, so how can an identity solution be a cure for that problem? And it probably can't, right? I mean, obviously publishers will push more for logins, but there will be a whole bunch of publishers where you're not going to log in, meaning that identity solutions won't be the solution for that, for targeting users. Plus, there's a patchwork of identity solutions. So one might use the one solution and the other might use the other solution. So what we decided I would say 2 years ago, is really to go with live data. And that's what the Consumer Intent Score is about. It's using live data and making decisions based on that live data that you get in that moment, right? And that's the key sentence. In the absence of user identifiers, we capture the user's intent in that short moment of truth in which we meet the user, actually. And we don't need any identifiers for that, right? Getting into the whole idea of the Consumer Intent Score, the intent score is a measure or is a prediction of an outcome. So, and this is what I said before, what we're asking from our clients is not to tell us how to run a campaign. We're actually asking them, just give us your goal, what are you trying to achieve? And in this case here, we have, for example, the campaign goal, dwell time, right? So how much time does a user spend on the advertiser's landing page? And this is what we're doing with our scoring model. We're calculating or we're predicting for each ad request what the outcome will be of showing an ad on that certain website in that environment, right? And here we, for example, have, what happens if the consumer intent score is a 4, which doesn't really mean a lot, obviously. That kind of translates into a dwell time of 1.4 minutes, for example, right? So that's kind of the concept of the scoring model. It goes from 0 to 10, 10 obviously being the best possible outcome. And we are calculating the score based on 4 major components, right? And the 4 major or main data categories is the user journey score, which is where did the user come from? Did they come from a search engine? What was the search term that the user used? So that's kind of, that connects with Nano's own history because we were really, really, really strong in search. We added to that the brand relevance score, which is kind of the contextual bit, meaning, okay, trying to understand the site's meaning and how that is important for the outcome of the campaign. Then we have the moment score, which is, other factors like, as I said, device, time of day, where's the user currently? Is he on the road or is he at home? Is he using a desktop device? And last but not least, and that's really, really important, is taking into account the actual outcomes, because machine learning only works if you have kind of cause and effect, right? If you only have the one, and that's what most pure contextual players are doing, they're not taking into account what the decision actually led to, right? And this is kind of the most important bit of the consumer intent score, is that we're always connecting those 4 data categories here with the actual outcome of the campaign. And just looking at it, and I can take you into a live demo in a bit, what this score actually looks like. And now I need to kind of move this around. Sorry, you can actually see it better. So here we have an example. But yeah, go ahead.
So you're compiling all this information based off search data that you partner with sites. Is that correct? And then you're building a model off the back of that, probabilistically applied using your consumer intent score. Right. Is that then a segment for you to buy against based on search keywords within the actual page itself? How does that? I'm just curious how the sausage actually, what's in the sausage, like, you know, you're taking all this information, all this data point. It's cookieless. It's are you looking at specific semantics and pieces of stuff on the page base that relates to your score, and then buying that impression based on the score? Is that correct?
That is correct. So basically, for this example that we're seeing here, we are calculating the consumer intent score. In this case, it is a 9, and as I said, it is an example. And the 9 consists of all the other subscores that we're seeing here, right? And the user journey score in this case would show the user came from Google and the user was searching for future of work, for example, and then he landed on that Tech Republic site. Then we analyze the site. What is on the site? It's obviously semantic analysis shows it's about COVID. The entity analysis gives us kind of the deeper meaning of the site, which is it's about business operations. Sentiment analysis shows it's actually, I mean, even though it's an article about COVID, it's a rather positive one. And then the interaction score gives us some historic data on it, and the moment score gives us user agent data and gives us when the user was surfing and those kind of things. And we compile all of that into that one consumer intent score. And you said segment. The problem I'm having with the word segment in that case is that segments are always associated to identity, right? But what we're doing is we're only looking at, at this one ad request. And you can see a Microsoft Teams ad here because it makes a whole lot of sense for Microsoft Teams to, advertise on that website. And we're looking only at that one ad request. If the advertiser were, let's say, a Jaguar, for example, the car, it would create a far lower consumer intent score for that ad. And that's very important to understand. The scoring is always directly related to a certain advertiser and to a certain ad, and also the historic data we're collecting from it. And so basically what we're doing is we're making that decision each time new based on that data that we have in our DMP. And it's not cookied users, it is, and I can show you in a bit, it is actually live, it is happening in that moment. And we actually created something, I would say, quite neat, which is what we call our window into machine learning, which is a little extension that actually shows how we calculate that consumer intent score live.
Okay, so based on the score, you have a bunch of machine learning running in the background that basically looks at all of these different parts, the consumer intent score, and then buys impressions based on that. So yeah. It's not a segment as such. It's more of a sort of a whole sort of platform that kind of ingests data points and then makes a decision based on that to buy a single impression.
Exactly.
So these are all the sort of the segments that you have. Is this a product that you're intending to roll out to third parties? So I imagine, like, looking at the opportunity, like you see massive DSPs like the Trade Desk and DV360 and Xandr and Amazon, for even that matter, have, like, I suppose Amazon have its own data, but those guys have savage and huge volumes running through it. So are you intending to integrate with these solutions to allow trading desk and buyers to use the consumer intent score solution to buy users?
Exactly that. I mean, that's obviously what we're looking for. I would put a question mark behind DV360 because I'm not sure if that's going to...
Very true. Very true.
If that's going to be our first DSP to talk to. I mean, we are obviously in discussions with DSPs integrating that, and so it's going to be a live integration, live data integration, which obviously brings a whole bunch of other challenges with it, which, for example, means you need to be really, really quick to answer the ad requests with, with your scoring model, and actually tell the client, hey, yeah, I would buy this ad. No, I wouldn't buy this ad.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of you brushed over a topic that might need more clarification, because you said, how do you buy that segment? And basically, that's kind of a two-step approach. We still want to give clients the opportunity to actually give us, let's say, a keyword list or something like that.
Yeah.
If they still want to go down that route, right? So they can still say, okay, this is my keyword list. On top of that, please put your intent score model and optimize the campaign as well as possible.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of I would say the Tesla self-driving car example, where the client says, hey, listen, I want people, spending as much time on my website as possible. Please try to guarantee that outcome. And by the way, try not to run, the campaign next to any, obviously, hate speech or any unsafe inventory, right? I mean, that's a given. But there are basically those two different sides of actually engaging with us. One is a more kind of, I'm driving the car, and yeah, you still have some leeway when it comes to optimization. And if you ask me, my preferred way is, let the machine do as much as possible, and step into your self-driving car and go wherever you want to go. You don't need to touch the wheel, but you'll get there as the best possible way, the quickest. Right. And again, if you take that analogy and you're looking at contextual players, to me, contextual advertising, and I know it's been kind of praised as the new hot shit, but I mean, if you ask me, it's only because, there's no third-party cookies anymore, so we need to look, in a certain different direction. But to me, that can't be the end solution, right?
No, I mean, it does feel like there's going to be multiple solutions, not just contextual targeting is pretty easy to do. Let's be honest with you. You can build a spider in a couple of hours to crawl pages and then start building segments to buy against. That's pretty easy. I think the sophistication is around bringing intent or search data into that or semantic data into that sort of equation, because you can do quite a lot off the back of that. So do you see this as a good sort of solid solution on sort of for performance buyers? Like, obviously they use cookies for retargeting, but this could be quite a good replacement to help them hit specific KPIs.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, and again, we're in the middle of terminology. You said performance buyer. I wouldn't, I would not even make any distinction between performance and branding players, right? Because even a branding campaign should hit certain campaign goals. So it's both for the pure branding world and also for performance buyers. Secondly, we spoke a little bit about retargeting and how good it works. Well, quite honestly, on the other hand, retargeting is not really marketing. Retargeting is just, annoying people until they actually buy your product. Let's just be quite frank here. It's not introducing a new product to a new audience. It is just exploiting cookies. So having said that, I'm not sure we're going to achieve the same outcomes, but as said, it's a different thing that we're doing here. But we're getting really close, and I think that's what really gets my hopes up, because as said, we're not only looking at, okay, what's the contextual environment where we're showing the ad, it is trying to, let me give you one example. If you have a highly priced product, you might want to especially target Apple users, right? Because they obviously can spend 1,500 euros on an iPhone, and you might not want to target people with 10-year-old smartphones. So taking device data into the equation is really important, because it tells you something about a user's capability to actually spend money, right? And it's different from campaign to campaign. On the one hand, you might have a luxury car. On the other hand, you might have a bag of potatoes that you want to sell, basically. So that's why we thought about this concept, and that it makes a whole lot of sense.
Are you sort of position yourself as sort of a the antithesis of the Google solution, because I imagine they have similar, capabilities in DV360, giving all their search data they have access to. Is it sort of like, we actually focus on this? This is a solution for the market that can compete with the Google stack effectively.
I definitely, I mean, first of all, we are actually working with DV360. We are working with other DSPs, so we know how they look from the inside and what you can actually do with them. The way that DSPs are still structured is very rigid, right? I mean, basically what you do is you select certain targeting categories, like device, like time of day, for example. But what's important about the consumer intent score is that it's always a combination of data, right? I mean, in one case, the user journey score might be low, but the other scores are so high that you're still going to show the ad. And the way that DSPs are set up, it's still very rigid, because you just say, okay, I basically don't want a certain device because it has shown that it doesn't deliver any outcomes, right? But in some cases, it might still, because the search traffic that you're getting for that device is still that good that the probability of having a really good outcome outweighs the other one. So so to answer your question, yes, I think it is a very new approach of thinking about how you look at each combination of data in that one moment, and not trying to make those ad hoc decisions.
Yeah.
Where you're basically just saying, okay, take this, don't take that.
Yeah. Right. So if I'm going to wrap up in a few minutes, but I'm curious as to know how you buy this in a DSP. Do you simply see this consumer intent score as an add-on to buy, or how does that work? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I'm just like, obviously it's very interesting technology to overlay a buy, particularly around the richness of data you have and search data combined with other pieces of the consumer intent score.
Yeah.
But how do you kind of buy that in a DSP?
So exactly. So what we have is a platform on which you can actually determine your targeting. In you would have said segment, build your segment, but it's not a segment. It's kind of how you want to target users. And as I said, it's a two-step process. The first step is you can give us your brand relevance targeting criteria, like a keyword or a certain kind of category of content that you want to target, or brand safety kind of settings. You can give that to us if you like. You don't have to. And then the second step is to actually just give us the goal that you're trying to achieve. That's it, right? It's kind of this two-step process. And if you like, you don't even need to give us your keywords, because we're actually going to find out for you which keywords actually work best for you.
Yeah.
And as I said, I do have a little live demo if we still have the time, and I would like to kind of show it to you.
Yeah, let's do the demo,
Sure.
and we'll finish off on that point. But it's that's interesting. So you build your targeting parameters on your platform and push that to your favorite DSP, and then execute the campaigns.
Exactly.
Is that what you're thinking?
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting. And that's cross browser, cross device, open web app as well.
Exactly. And then that's why we can't currently do it within the DSPs, because what you usually do in DSPs, you just select a certain contextual targeting based on an IAB category, for example. Right?
Interesting. Yeah. So let's finish on the demo.
Okay.
And then we can hit the beaches.
That was quite mean, actually. Hold on, let me share my screen again. Okay, so you should be seeing my Chrome browser now.
Yeah.
Let me see where I put the video window. Let's put it down there.
Some good SEO there for Nano.
Yeah. So yeah, let's take a short ride. Let's say, okay. I'm a user. I'm searching. I'm in London. I want to see a musical. What do people do in London? I mean, maybe not currently, but in general.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for new musicals in London. Searching for that, and then I just click on one of the search results that I'm seeing there. Obviously, click this away. Let's just wait a second. My connection is a bit slow. Oh, come on. And what we're seeing here is actually an ad that we're posting based on that user behavior, based on that search. Quick proof, clicking on the ad choices delivers our privacy policy.
Yeah.
So that is actually our ad. And
Lovely.
now let's have a look at the extension that I mentioned. So it's actually calculating the score based on what I just did.
Okay.
What you can see is, in this case, I kind of reloaded the page, so I didn't visit the page from Google, which means that
the score is lower, right?
It's actually direct traffic, so the user journey score is lower.
Right.
You see the brand relevant score and all the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
For example, let's say the meaning of the website. So it's about pop culture, music, and audio, fine arts. And the green thing is here. They show how relevant that information is for calculating the outcome of the campaign.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you have your moment score with the different bits and pieces. Okay, it's a Tuesday. I'm surfing from Munich, so I didn't lie.
Yeah.
It's around noon. I'm using a desktop device. I'm obviously in Germany.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, kind of some historic data on that ad placement.
Yeah.
Viewability is not really that high. CTR in the past was kind of medium. And the brand impression time is something that we kind of added to the mix. And we can see that here in measurement. This is kind of the amount of time the ad is actually visible for more than like 50% of the ad. So it's not only a viewability number, it's actually also how long is the ad up there, right? So you can see that it's still counting 117 seconds.
Yeah.
And if I were to scroll down now, it would disappear and it would stop counting really.
You can run this alongside your campaigns, see how they're doing, which is interesting.
Yeah. And let's just use one more example and then we're good with the, because it's a quite different approach here. Let me visit you may know that site. It's kind of a car review site.
Yeah.
And now let me click on, let's just say Porsche Taycan, nice car. And then again, we're actually on a car site, but we're seeing an ad for luxury holidays, right? Again, it's our ad, obviously. And that's something that the scoring model is basically defining. It says, well, I mean, that there's a user looking at a very expensive car. If he can afford it, he can also afford a very nice Caribbean holiday, basically. Of course. Right? I mean, so that is the whole idea.
Barbados, obviously.
Yeah, why not? And this is what I mean by the kind of the self-driving bit of our campaigns. If you let the machine decide, you're going to get those kind of results. You're going to see your ad, maybe not where you're expecting them, but where they're actually going to deliver really good results.
Yeah.
And all of that is done cookieless. I mean,
that's pretty impressive, Johann. And so, is the product live in the market yet, or are you rolling it out?
It is live in the market. Currently, we are. When it comes to accessing it through DSPs, we are talking to the major ones, except for DV360. And other than that, you can buy that directly from us. But we're expecting the DSP integration to be done in Q2. Until then, it's directly through Nano Interactive. Drop me a line, info@nanointeractive.com, and it will be forwarded to me.
Very good.
If you like to understand more about this product.
Okay. All right, Johann, thank you very much for that run through. That was really interesting. I mean, good sort of solid post-cookie solution, and I like the fact it's based on intent data, and you're building a solution that sort of is next gen sort of targeting. So, thank you for that. And I'm sure you'll be hearing more about the new CIS and CSI Tenerife coming this week. So, Johann, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
It was great talking to you.
Hopefully, we'll see you in the flesh soon. I think Boris is doing a good job with the vaccines. We might get out of this thing soon. So, hopefully, we might see you for a few beers at ATS London this year.
Germans will have to wait for a bit until we can follow up with you guys, obviously.
Okay. Well, maybe next year.
Yeah.
All right, Johann, thank you very much.
It was good talking to you. Bye-bye.
And that was the Trailer Talk TV. We'll see you next time.